I'm going to ask you how to do that. Yeah. Oh, there he is. Good morning.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey guys, sorry I'm having to join by Zoom. My wife tested positive earlier this week, and I'm still negative, but playing it safe and having to take care of her. So
we hope she's better soon.
Yeah, thanks. Mild, but on the plus side, I get to be on my back porch a day like this.
Good morning, all. This is the Housing Opportunities Commission's March 23rd meeting of the Development and Finance Committee. I am Jackie Simon, chair of the committee, and to my left is Rick Nelson, fellow commissioner, and by Zoom is our commissioner, Jeffrey Merkowitz. So we welcome you here and are ready to begin our meeting. The first item of business is the approval of our minutes of February 24. Is there a motion to approve them as circulated?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That was quick and easy. Our next item before us is the mortgage purchase program and approval of a new participating lender for the single family mortgage purchase program, Luminate Home Loans, Inc. And our staff joining us this morning, Ms. Andrews, I believe, is Monty Stanford and Paulette Dudley. We welcome you on this and look forward to your recommendations.
Thank you, Commissioner. Again, for the record, my name is Monty Stanford. I'm the Director of Mortgage Finance, and Ms. Paulette Dudley will be presenting the approval of new participating lender for the single family mortgage purchase program, Luminate Home Loans, Inc.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Paulette Dudley with the Single Family Mortgage Purchase Program. We're here for the approval of a new participating lenders for the Single Family Mortgage Purchase Program. Just as some history, the HOC has approved continuous participation of lenders from program to program on an ongoing admission of new lenders to that program. As lenders apply for participation, the request is submitted to the Commission for approval, and this increases the lender participation, which broadens the exposure to the Commission's single-family mortgage purchase product, as well as our closing cost programs, the revolving closing costs, and other special closing cost programs as they become available. The minimum qualifications for lender participation are that one, the lender is not a mortgage broker and can close loans in the company's name. The lender is an FHA approved seller servicer and has FHA direct endorsement approval. Also that the lender is a Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae seller servicer to originate conventional products. The new lenders are also required to be approved by U.S. Bank, who is our master servicer that services all of our mortgage-backed security loans. They must have origination experience, single family and the single family taxes and bond programs, and also be committed to lending towards low and moderate income families, as well as any other families that qualify for our program. Luminate Home Mortgage has applied to participate in the HOC single family program, and they do meet the minimum requirements and criteria, which we have already outlined. The history on this mortgage company is that in July 2022, HOC approved the participation of Celebrity Home Mortgage Celebrity Home Loans, which had acquired Apex Home Loans. And Apex decided to make a change to its business model and has split from Celebrity, effective February 2023, to join Luminate. That being said, Celebrity is no longer, will no longer be originating the HOC product. Luminate is a fully owned subsidiary of Luminate Bank, formerly American Equity Bank, which was established back in 1998. Luminate was, and originated and rebranded back in 2020 as Luminate Home Loans. They have strong financial backing of the bank, and they again have met the minimum requirements. While Luminate is headquartered in Minneapolis, the lender is licensed in 35 states, including Maryland, and has loaned over $1.77 billion in home loans since 2020. While Apex team, with Apex team joining Luminate, it has created its presence within Montgomery County, the market. The Apex team has been originating HOC loans for several years and is on our top level companies with loan officers who have extensive knowledge of the Commission's single family programs. Their processors, underwriters, closers, post-closures also come with significant experience with the HOC loans. And while the lender will be new to HOC, meaning Luminate Home Loans, the Apex team doing business as Luminate has an extensive knowledge of our HOC product, and they are excited to come on board. The lender through Apex team loan officers, again, they do have extensive knowledge, and they work closely and have been with Montgomery County's moderately priced dwelling unit program, as well as with the HCII counseling and teaching NPDU classes. For your consideration, we want, does the Development and Finance Committee wish to join the staff's recommendation that the Commission approve Luminate Home Loans for participation in our single family mortgage purchase program? Any questions?
Are there questions?
I have no questions.
Jeffrey, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Is there a
I would
motion?
move to support the staff, pardon me, the staff recommendation to add Luminate as a member of the team.
Okay,
I would second.
it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll try to incorporate them into the family.
Yes. And you know, Commissioner Simon, that Trish Broderick, who works with Apex, is very excited. She is one of the main loan officers of that of Apex.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand while you're here that you have been successfully able to reach out to GCAR.
Yes, we are having that
And,
meeting April the 19th.
I'm sorry?
April the 19th is going to be that virtual presentation.
And is it to the board or to the Public Policy Committee?
It's to the brokers
Brokers.
and realtors. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think we ought to see some more our lenders ought to see some more activity,
Yes.
because there's just so much misunderstanding about the program. Just tremendous amount of misunderstanding. So, the next item on our agenda is to select a single family mortgage loan subservicer. And with us for this presentation is not only Mr. Stanford, but Jennifer Washington, the Assistant Director of Bond Management. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Commissioner Simon. As you Again, for the record, Monty Stanford, Director of Mortgage Finance. Jennifer Washington will be presenting the approval to select a single-family mortgage loan subservicer in accordance with our RFP number 234.
Good morning. For the record, Jennifer Washington, Assistant Director of Bond Management. You can move to page 13, please. You have before you a request to approve Dover Mule Mortgage, Inc. as the Commission Single-Family Mortgage Loan Subservicer for a new contract term in accordance with RFP 2344. The mortgage purchase program includes a small portfolio of whole loans that are serviced by either the original lender or the Commission's existing subservicer. And since 2015, DMI has been doing such. These whole loans were originated prior to 2012 when the program implemented the existing mortgage-backed securities structure. The RFP for services, which issued on July 25th, 2022, and after no responses were received, we reissued it on September 19th, with responses due on October 17th, 2022. Page 15. After review of the 3 responses received, it was determined that only 2, Dover Mule and Novad Management Consulting, satisfied compliance with and met all minimum qualifications of the RFP. The evaluation team, which included staff from the mortgage finance and finance divisions, evaluated and scored the response upon the evaluation criteria on page 16. You can advance to page 17. As mentioned, Dover Mule has been the Commission's existing subservicer since 2017 and provides quick response customer service. It has specialized exclusively in subservicing since 1991 and works with other state and municipal housing finance agencies like HOC. During the height of the pandemic, Dover Mule was quick to respond to all the various changes and actions implemented by the federal government to stave off foreclosures and presents timely any loss mitigation requests. It also brings technological advancements to the servicing of our loans, including a private branded consumer website, online chat functionality, and consumer education videos. Page 18. Novad, operating since 2003, is headquartered in Landover, Maryland, and provides a varying range of consulting services to federal agencies, grants, loans, and financial management programs. It has partnered with BSI Financial Services in Irving, Texas, a financial services company for this procurement. Both are minority owned. Novad's largest client is FHA and its reverse mortgage program. Page 19. Out of 100 points, Dover Mule received the highest score. Novad's pricing is estimated to be 83% higher than Dover Mule based upon staff analysis. The evaluation team considered the existing loan portfolio and applied both respondents' proposed pricing to the typical monthly servicing activities seen within the portfolio. Therefore, staff recommends that the Development and Finance Committee join its recommendation to the Commission to approve the selection of Dover Mule as the Commission's loan subservicer. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I have a few questions. If you would go, go back to page 14, you mentioned that we received no responses to the first RFP. Did I overlook that, or is that not mentioned in here? I didn't see it in here.
In the package?
Yeah.
It should be mentioned.
But that was one of the things I was confused about.
It's at,
Back to the next page.
it's on page 13.
Yeah. At the bottom. Right there.
Oh, okay, I see that. Then the other thing, though, that confuses me is they were in the second renewal year, right? Or,
Correct.
but yet, despite that, there was an automatic renewal if nobody did anything?
So this contract was written differently. It had an extension it allowed for an annual extension without an action. This contract was written back in 2017, 2016, 2017.
Okay. So I hope that we're writing them differently now. Okay.
We were working with procurement on the contract.
Okay, so that was something that I wasn't sure about. The other question is, I'm not sure I saw, and again, maybe I misread or overread, the basis for disqualification of the other firm.
They did not meet the compliance and the compliance standard for the RFP. In section 2 of the RFP, it lays out specifically what the respondent needs to do, and the company that we deemed not within compliance made some statements that truly show that they were not interested, or they did not comply with what we were setting forward.
Okay, again, that didn't seem to be very clear to me. And I guess the last question I have is, and this goes to how we're going to be receiving RFPs and recommendations. On page 19, you give the scores, but you give the average scores. Are we going to get average scores, or are we going to get individual scores?
You will get average scores.
And what is the basis or the reason for that?
Because actually, the information that we provide in this forum is definitely much more than what is normally required or provided in settings where presentations in regards to recommendations for moving forward with procurements happen. What we're trying to avoid, and we can definitely continue to have further discussion on, is individual scrutiny on individual scorings. There is an opportunity for any particular company who has a question, appeal, or an issue with their contract to raise that concern with our procurement office, and for them to have an opportunity to sit down, go through the procurement and the scoring. But the purpose of bringing it forward before this particular group and this commission for a vote and approval is less about the individual scores, but more about the combined recommendation of staff. Because there are definitely going to be variations in individual scores, but that does not ultimately impact the final recommendation that goes before this board for review and approval. That second question that you asked, Commissioner Nelson, would be more potentially appropriate for a one-on-one with a contractor who is raising a concern or raising a challenge in regards to the award of the contract. And instead, the high-level decision of what a staff recommendation is based on the combined scoring of the panel.
All right, I hear your answer.
Okay. Mr. Merkowitz, have you any questions?
No additional questions. Rick covered one of mine.
Is there a motion?
I would move to, oh, go ahead, Rick.
That's all right, go ahead. I don't want to steal your thunder.
I'd move to support the staff recommendation to approve DMI as the subservicer.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All right. Let's move on. The next item before us is the approval to increase the sales price and income limits for the single-family mortgage purchase program. Ms. Andrews, have you any leads in that you want to make on this issue?
I will just set the stage by saying, Commissioner Simon and committee members, we recognize that there have been questions about how we have approached facilitating this program as it pertains to minimum qualifications, as well as looking at and exploring potentially innovative approaches to administering first-time homebuyer loans. In particular, your request, Commissioner Simon, that we look at the potential of a 40-year product. I want to share that our mortgage finance team is preparing a memo for this committee to address many of the questions that have been raised over the last few months that we look forward to providing to you. The teammates will provide more information in regards to the nature of this request to increase our limits, but I think it comes as no surprise that the cost of purchasing a home in this county has continued to increase. And the goal here is not to eliminate anyone that we would previously provide opportunities to obtain this product and this loan, but to ensure that we're also able to accommodate those purchasers who have a higher income threshold and are interested in purchasing homes for the first time that are higher than our current limits. And so I will turn it over to our mortgage finance team to provide more context.
Thank you. Mr. Stanford?
Yes. Again, Monty Stanford, Director of Mortgage Finance. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Ms. Jennifer Washington will be presenting the approval to increase the sales price and income limits of the single-family mortgage purchase program.
Good afternoon again. For the record, Jennifer Washington, Assistant Director of Bond Management. Page 23, I'm not sure. I guess we're on page 23. The Single Family Mortgage Purchase Program follows IRS regulations, which guides the maximum sales price and income limits for the program. And today you have a request proposing to increase both maximum limits. The program's maximum sales price limits were last increased in 2019, and the maximum income limits were last increased in 2020. Page 24. We provided a 10-year history of the maximum, average, median, and minimum sales prices for all ratified contracts since 2013. And in FY 2022, our largest contract was for $565,000, while the average sold price for Montgomery County homes in FY 2023 is $676,569. Page 25. With the IRS average area sales price now at $896,000 for the Washington Metropolitan Statistical Area, which is a high cost area, the program is able to increase its maximum sales price limit from $654,000 to $806,598, which is and cannot be more than 90% of the IRS average. Our maximum loan amount, however, will be $726,200 due to the change in the 2023 Federal Housing Finance Agency maximum mortgage limits. And I will adjust your packet to reference that data. Page 26. With respect to income limits, we have provided a comparison of the area median income published over the last 10 years in comparison to the program's limits. While we reported that the program's average borrower in FY22 was a household of 3 with an annual income representing almost 60% of the area median income, please note that overall median incomes for each household size fall within the following percentages. And this too is not included, but I'm going to add it for you. But for one person, our clientele or our borrowers are at approximately 70% of the area median income. For 2 people, 75%, 3, 57%, 4, 44%, 5, 36%, and 6 persons, 40%. And I'm happy to revise, as I mentioned, I'm happy to revise your packet to reflect this additional program data. Page 27. Since 2008, IRS regulations allow for high-cost areas to set limits for 1 to 2 person households as high as 120% of the area median income. And for a 3 or more person household, we can set it as high as 140% of the area median income. Utilizing the 2022 AMIs for a 4-person household, which is $142,300, and adjusting for the high cost area, staff recommends increasing the maximum income limits for the program as listed. Page 28. Assuming a home buyer meets the program qualifying criteria at the new income limits, a one-person household would qualify for a home selling for approximately $515,000, and a three-person or more household could qualify for a home of approximately $749,000. On the other end of the spectrum, a buyer making approximately $35,000 would qualify for a mortgage in today's market around $60,000. Increasing the income limits for the program will not exclude the more affordable incomes from access to the program, as our program is a continuous lending program. It will, however, continue to broaden our reach of households that include millennials, entry-level professionals, civil servants, single earners with children, and multi-generational households, all of which may not have substantial savings, but will look to the program for much needed closing cost assistance that the program provides. This has added benefit of diversifying home ownership across the county for first-time home buyers. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I must admit, I find it very hard to reconcile the raising of the limits
Maximum.
maximum with the agency mission and our need to focus. And I'm anxious to hear my
Well, I guess
colleagues.
related to that, what experience do we have in terms of people who are over the average, who are applying for funds? I mean, in other words, how many people are in this category that they need the limit to be raised beyond 565?
We don't have that data right now, but we can get that information.
I mean, well, I just think, and I understand that we can go this high according to the regs and all that sort of stuff, but I do sometimes get concerned about the image that gets projected. We're trying to help people who are unable to afford properties in the county to purchase and or to rent. The average sale price is $565, or no, I'm sorry. And the average sale, last year's maximum sale price was $565. We're now talking about going up to $800. A lot of people would look at $800,000 maximum and say, why are we supporting families going that high? And do they really need it? The question I ask is whether or not we really have a market at that level that requires us to raise it. If we didn't raise it, would we be in fact eliminating some people? And what is our experience in that regard? You mentioned that some of the single parent households might have more than just minimum income, but what kind of income level would they have? Do they really need to go this high? I think the optics are very bad. And
If I could respond, I think it's interesting to hear these points. I also raised and asked the same question about our market and how we do market to those first-time home buyers who are in need of this type of resource, as well as down payment assistance. Different from down payment assistance, this is truly a loan product that allows for anyone in the county to purchase a home and to take advantage of this this product, which is a revenue generator or a potential of a revenue generator for our housing authority and for HOC. The way I began to look at it is similar to how we approach our mixed income properties, where you are able to gain benefit from accommodating a multiple range of incomes and allow that to assist us with offsetting some of our affordable housing goals. And so to limit our product for even a realtor or a broker to only think of HOC as serving a certain clientele and to take money off the table that we could earn in terms of a revenue stream for any first-time home buyer, I think would be, although initially you would think in alignment with our mission is what we should do, is kind of counterintuitive to the fact that we need to think about all the ways in which we can generate revenue as an agency. Now, how we market and what we think about when we are ensuring that we're before these different groups and making partnerships with different nonprofits and community organizations so that we attract and help build the base of individuals who are moderately, low to moderately incomed is different and apart from limiting the options that someone may have to utilize this product and limiting our ability to gain a financial positive outcome from them using the product. And so I would argue that we should consider how we market and try to bring people into first-time home buyers programs is a little different than ensuring that we have a product like any other first-time home buyer product in this county that can serve anyone in this county. And to put us in a position where we're limiting, I think would take the ability to gain that additional revenue off the table.
Well, I think that using your argument, what that does is put us in competition with the private sector, which is not one of our goals. One of the reasons that we are participating in a program like this is to, in fact, make it possible for people who can't afford, and in different times there was a larger difference, who can't afford the private sector interest rates. If the private sector could do it at a level that they could afford, then we wouldn't be in the business. And in terms of drawing the difference between this and our housing and some of our properties, mixed income families, the market rate families that we have in those properties are in fact contributing to the ability for us to house affordable families. In this case, somebody who decided they wanted to use this program for an $800,000 home would not be contributing anything to some other family in the county that we're trying to help.
It would contribute additional revenue to HOC that we could use to advance the affordable mission. That's the cross-pollination that I was referencing.
But again, I think that really does set us up in this competition with the private sector. But I asked for some indication of how many we have in that category, and we don't know. So we don't know whether there's any income that has been generated to that extent that it's been valuable. It also, by the way, would, in fact, increase pressure on volume cap, right?
So,
But doesn't the mortgage purchase program use?
some of our mortgages, this is Kareen Brown for the record. Some of our mortgages are funded with bond proceeds, and
Yes.
some are funded directly by the secondary market, in which case bond proceeds are not needed. So, so it's a combination of the two. So we're not always using bond proceeds, and I think we're particularly sensitive to situations where lower and moderate income folks are afforded the opportunity to participate in the bond program directly. For those higher income folks, although they can be served by the bond program because of the limits that are set, they're better served in the secondary market through the MBS program and the use of TBA product. But I would add to Executive Director Andrews that we're not necessarily in competition with the private sector, because what we're doing is really adding to the overall strength of our indentures, which strengthens the commission's balance sheet and enables us in the end to serve our overall affordability goals. By having a strong balance sheet, the commission having an overall strong balance sheet, we're able to do more in terms of affordability, because it just trickles down to the bottom line and make our financial strength a whole lot better when we're being reviewed by the various agencies that look at HOC overall.
Jeffrey, have you some
guess,
questions?
Yeah, well, I'm just curious. I mean, I question, I suppose, also how many we're actually serving at the higher income level. But I think my question mainly would be, if we are serving those at the higher income level, does it limit in any way our ability to serve people below that, you know, in the more moderate or lower income levels?
No.
No, it does not. And I think the question in terms of the higher income levels, what and who we're currently serving, is a reflection of a couple of things. One, and this is an effort that we're trying to push forward now, but we're needing to get the word out about this product even more. And so I think we're not able to have data on individuals who might have asked about it and been ineligible, or people who would have been interested in it but didn't apply because the limits weren't able to accommodate them. So it will be difficult to provide that type of data because ultimately when dealing with a bank, you're provided with the type of loans that fit your potential, your needs. And we might not be on the list at this time. But to answer your question directly, which is extremely important, is that extending this loan offering to a higher pay scale in terms of income, or allowing individuals to purchase a more expensive home will not negatively impact anyone that can take advantage of this program that's low or moderate income. And so we don't see it as a scarcity kind of quandary. Instead, our position is that it allows us an opportunity to provide a product that can, if utilized, provide additional resource to our overall mission.
Yeah, I think that would be my main concern, is that we're somehow limiting us in other ways. I mean, I get that the numbers are a bit eye-popping. You know, to some extent, that's a reflection of the area we live in, which, you know, if we're still talking about the maximum income limit is 120% of area median income. You know, we have a very high area median income. And unfortunately, you know, 120% is still, you know, that's considered moderate income. And we live in a very expensive housing market. So I'm uncertain how necessary it is, given, you know, like I do question. It would be interesting to know how many we are serving at that level, but given the averages we were told earlier, but I don't object to it if it's not limiting us.
I would like to ask a question related to the closing cost loan aspect of mortgages, and whether it is likely, or that you anticipate or think or have any knowledge or awareness of whether people in this income range are also looking for closing cost loans, and whether there is a fixed cap of money available, and whether there is the closing cost loan criteria going to move to this new these higher limits. Mr. Stanford, maybe you could. answer that?
I would say that we would have to look at how the closing cost programs are structured. Yes, we are limited by the amount of money that we have in those programs, not the DPA program necessarily, but we can certainly look at limiting, if the commission desired, the amounts, how much is lent to a higher income band for the closing costs. We can certainly look at that. But right now, there's no limit.
And their current maximums on their revolving closing cost, there's a 10,000 limit, I
Yes.
believe, and on my account, there's a
25,000
limit.
But we can,
So those won't
work for those.
right, those won't change, those limits won't change, because of this higher
Okay,
purchase price,
that's one thing that
right?
goes on that side of the ledger. The other concern I have, based on my professional experience, is that with caution, when I send a buyer to a lender to be pre-qualified, I tell them, go find out how much you qualify for, but I want to know what is a manageable monthly payment. And it is that number that we will work toward. But I know that many lenders come at that buyer from a very different perspective. And the risk of being pushed to your limit and or beyond is part of this also. And I worry that the pressure from many of the lenders is to tell them their limit and make it clear, and having to help bring back to the reality of what the family is going to be able to hold on to that house and benefit from owning it over a period of time is jeopardized by the lender pressure to make a larger loan. And that just goes back to my personal philosophy as a realtor, but I assume that when you folks look at this, you are looking at it more as I do, and maybe that's not accurate. I
think you definitely raise a good point, and it actually is one of concern for especially the lower income families. I don't know how applicable it is for these higher limits, but I definitely constantly am concerned about ensuring that our families who enter into this program, that they have reasonable expectations around what it costs to be a homeowner, in addition to, of course, the mortgage amount that they are provided. Of course, we provide resources as it pertains to home buyer program and assistance and counseling and all of the support around our residents and individuals who are interested in participating in our programs. I presume that our banking partners offer many of those same resources, but that concern you have, Commissioner, I don't think it has a dollar sign to it. I think there is always the challenge where the bank might share with an individual buyer what they could potentially buy, and having to manage that expectation so that that individual does what's reasonable and best over the long course is something that continued education, support, and guidance is the solution.
And I also wanted to say that we also provide home ownership courses. We do training for our homeowners and educate them on budgeting and the importance of that to not, go for the max, along with lender training as well that the single family group does on a continual basis. And I highly doubt that we are expressing to our lenders to go for max.
Well, I'm not suggesting that you do. I think that their motive is very different than necessarily our primary concerns and the last thing any of us want to do is be a party to somebody moving into something with high expectation and then to have it all collapse, because then that's adding insult to injury. And
Right.
I mean, there are lenders out there that are just not responsible. And I'm not suggesting any of our lenders are, but people come to a lender for a variety of reasons and a variety of sources. And I don't know, this is just something that really worries me. And in this day and in the most recent times, I had a client where the parents kept saying, well, I'll give them more money. Sell them a $600,000 house. They qualified for a $350,000 home. And the parents thought they were going to offset it, but the parents weren't going to help with the monthly payments. And they actually said to me, we need you to be a buffer between us and our parents, because the parents were sending listings to me to show them houses that were just absolutely absurd. And so I know that's just anecdotal information, but there was an awful lot of that going on there for a while with first-time buyers, and I don't think it's gone away. So I have not had experience with a lot of our lenders, and I assume that they're motivated the way that we hope they're motivated, and they're on the same message that we are, that we're hoping to help people establish generational wealth. And but it's anxiety producing. And I appreciate, on the plus side, generating revenues that help us continue to serve in other ways and better ways. And I know it sounds 180 degrees when I say I want there to be an exception to the $40,000 minimum income, but I am aware of the people that have an inheritance or a substantial down payment, thousands of dollars down payment, so they can afford the house. It's not their income that is the issue, it's the total resources and their credit and everything else. So I'm not arguing that we allow people to make totally irresponsible decisions, or that we make irresponsible decisions when it comes to looking at and underwriting these loans. But is there, barring that we don't have the answers to Commissioner Nelson's questions at the moment, is there a reason that this decision would need to be made today?
No.
Well, the only point that I would raise is, as you know, per your encouragement, we are gearing up for communications outreach to realtors, brokers. We're trying to really advertise more about our overall products. And so I think the meeting is coming up in April. It'd be great to be able to speak about what our limits are and be able to utilize that audience at a time where we can explain what we do in a holistic way versus, you know, come back another time with yet another change. There is no time sensitivity other than that, I think, connected to this particular request.
And if I, If I could say as well, just to quell your anxiety, that every loan that comes through our program is underwritten by our underwriter. So we have come in and said, you know, we don't want to put the noose around someone's neck when we look at when we look at the figures and say, you know, okay, well, you know, you paid a rent of $500. How can you now go up to 2,000? So it stops, the buck stops with us as far as giving someone a loan that we know is going to be the noose around their neck. And even if we have to go and ask about, you know, your budget plan, those kinds of things, that is done there. So so the loan is not approved until it's approved by HOC. So we, you know, the loan officer, the processor, even the underwriter for that particular mortgage company, they can approve it, but if it does not go through HOC for our approval, then the loan does not close. So just let me, you know, let me say that to you as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I would just add one final thing. I think it's important for purchasers, even at the higher end, to have access to an HOC, because I think there could be unscrupulous lenders out there who will put somebody into a loan at the higher end without going through a thorough process like Ms. Dudley described. And so they'll end up in a situation where they really can't afford that expensive house, whereby with the underwriting and the review process that we go through, we would have made some determination based on our analysis and evaluation and review that this is a house that you can afford because you were affording the rent or your debt burden and things of that nature. And we are being the responsible lender and reviewer of your situation and can sign off on the loan, while other lenders may just say, okay, it's a deal that's closed, and then the borrower gets into trouble.
I must admit, I appreciate the reassurance because this market has just put such stress on people, and it has worried me significantly, just even the role that I play in it professionally. And I still feel like we are competing with the private sector. There's no question the absence of points and the closing cost loans and the state program with its student loan ability to absorb some of that is helpful. And has the state raised their limits already?
Yes, they did it,
Okay.
2023.
To these same levels?
Yes.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to support the staff recommendation to increase the MPT sales price limit to $806,598 and to increase the maximum income limits as noted.
For purposes of putting it on the table, though I will not vote for or against it, I will second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Reluctantly, aye.
I abstain.
The motion passes, and the committee will recommend to the full commission the increasing of the income limits. And thank you for taking the extra time to reduce my anxiety level.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Now, our next item is for Hillendale Gateway. And would you care to introduce this issue, Sanders?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Simon. We are continuing to move forward with this wonderful project, Hillendale Gateway, and this is the next step in doing so. I'll turn it over to our real estate team, both Marcus Irvin, our Director of Real Estate, and Dejana Donahue, Project Manager, to share more about this specific request.
Good afternoon. For the record, Marcus Irvin, Director of Real Estate. We're going to do a little bit of musical chairs, and then I'm going to introduce Catherine Hollister as well to give us a top-down view of Hillendale Gateway, where we are today, what to expect, and then we'll transition into Dejana Donahue to talk about the specific procurement matter for this project.
Welcome.
Catherine.
Thanks,
Good morning.
Marcus.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Catherine Hollister, Housing Acquisition Manager in the Real Estate Division. Page 32 of your brief book provides background on the Hillendale Gateway development. Hillendale Gateway will be a new mixed-use, mixed-income, multi-generational community located on the site of Holly Hall Apartments. It will contain 463 units in 2 residential buildings. One, a 155-unit passive house, net zero energy, age-restricted senior building. The other, a 308-unit passive house, non-age restricted building. Pages 33 and 34 of your brief book discusses Hillendale Gateway's development highlights. Hillendale Gateway is a hallmark development that incorporates a number of agency, county, and state priorities. Notably, Hillendale Gateway will be a catalyst for economic development in the East County and will set new benchmarks for sustainable and resilient multifamily development. Page 34 also provides the executive summary for this item. As you may remember, at the September Commission meeting, the Commission approved a change in Hillendale Gateway's structural system from prescient to concrete. The development team is on track to submit the revised permit set for Hillendale Gateway in the next 2 weeks. Also in January, the Commission approved an early start to allow for site work to proceed prior to full construction closing. Early start mobilization is anticipated to begin in May. As the development team works towards a full construction closing later this year, it recommends that the committee supports staff's recommendation on this item before you today. And I'll turn it over to Dejana Donahue to present staff's recommendation on this item.
Yes, for the record, Dejana Donahue, Project Manager. Next page, please. Here we're transitioning to the procurement recommendation at hand, the qualification and selection for third-party testing services. RFP 2348 was released on September 29, 2022, with a due date of November 10th, 2022. A pre-proposal conference was held virtually on October 6th, 2022, and the scope of work outlined in the RFP included, for instance, geotechnical services, concrete testing, and earthwork. The scoring team received written instructions prior to scoring and consisted of staff from risk management, mortgage finance, and real estate divisions, as well as a representative from DEFI. The maximum points the proposal could receive is 100, and the proposals were scored on the following evaluation criteria: background and experience, the management plan, price, methodology, and MFD participation. Next page, please. HOC received 3 proposals in response to RFP 2348 by the proposal deadline. 2 proposals were deemed responsive, and 1 respondent did not provide pricing for the full scope of work. Below are the 2 responsive respondents. Hillis Carnes, founded in 1989, has provided third-party testing services for HOC projects, including the Leggett and the Laureate. Kim, founded in 1993, is a certified MBE firm and has not had any prior experience working on HOC projects. Next page, please. Here is the scoring summary. Hillis Carnes received the highest score, totaling to 87 points. To go a bit more in depth addressing the evaluation criteria, starting with background and experience, Hillis Carnes received 29 points in this criteria. They demonstrated significant experience with properties of similar size and scope, including experience working with Montgomery County's special inspection program, which is significant for this service at hand. Kim, in contrast, did not demonstrate significant experience with properties of similar scope and size. As a result, they received a lower score to reflect that assessment. In regards to the management plan, both respondents provided their staffing approach for this service. Hillis Carnes included staffing for 13 personnel. Kim's management plan included 8 personnel, and with that resulted in over 1,000 less hours in services. We will address pricing on the next slide. In regards, actually, can you go back one slide, please? I'm gonna finish the other criteria and then address pricing. The methodology, in regards to that included in the RFP, Hillis Carnes provided significant information in regards to their specific approach for the project. Kim did not provide as much. And then you can go to the next slide and we will address MFD as well. So here is the price comparison table that assumes a concrete structure, as Ms. Hollister mentioned, based on the prior commission action. The respondents here in regards to their pricing are within 3% of each other, or approximately $15,000. So the pricing came in very closely. Hillis Carnes received the highest points in regards to their pricing because they not only provided the lowest pricing, but they also included 27% more hours for services. Staff also recommends including a 15% contingency on top of the awardee's price to cover any unforeseen or additional services required for the service. Next slide. This addresses the MFD participation. The MFD participation includes two subcategories in regards to direct MFD efforts and MFD subcontracting. This approach allows for various ways for the respondents to proactively engage MFD personnel. And you have seen this approach previously. Hillis Carnes demonstrated direct MFD efforts in addition to providing a subcontracting plan that included 28% MFD participation with SECA, and they were awarded 10 points for their MFD participation. Kim, a certified MBE firm, received 5 points for their direct MFD efforts and were also subcontracting with SECA for 34% and received the full points. With that said, and based on the previous slide for the overall scoring summary, Hillis Carnes demonstrated that it is better suited to perform third-party testing services. As mentioned, the firm has also provided this service for projects on the Leggett and the Laureate successfully. Staff proposes the selection of Hillis Carnes to provide third-party testing services for the amount of $489,430, and that the commission include a 15% contingency on top of the awardee's price for a total budgeted price of $562,845 as mentioned on the previous slide. And this is the areas for consideration, mentioning the same monetary funds allocated in regards to the approval of Hillis Carnes for the amount of $489,430 and the contingency for 15% of the contract. This has no budget or fiscal impact, and the scope will be paid through the construction financing proceeds. And this is for discussion at today's meeting in addition to action at the April 5th commission meeting.
Are there
next slide?
Questions?
Oh.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The 15% contingency,
Yes.
when do we decide 15%? When do we decide 20? And what has been the experience on the Leggett and the Laureate?
It's a great question. In regards to the contingency amount, this is something that came up because we did the structural change. When this RP was issued, the structural change was underway in regards to approval for the commission. And so with that, there had to be a revival in the architectural drawings to reflect that now that Hillendale will be concrete, have a concrete structure. So with that anticipation, that 15% buffer will allow for us to address any unforeseen costs that arise from that structural change. And we have already engaged with the architect and they have made us aware that there is potential scope that would result from that change that reflects the services.
Jeffrey, have you any questions?
No, thanks.
My question, what was our experience with contingency on the Laureate and the Leggett?
Commissioner Nelson, give us one moment. Let me ask Director Irvin to provide an update.
Yes, for the Laureate, we did not have a contingency in. I can't recall if we have a contingency in that approval, but the amount that was approved was sufficient enough to carry out performance on that job. Hillendale Gateway is a much larger job in scope with the family portion and the senior portion, so it's appropriate given the complexity of it that we do have adequate contingency. Also, given the total construction duration, which would be longer across two multifamilies versus the Leggett, which was sort of one building at about 18-month window. So.
Is there a motion?
I would move approval.
Second.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Glad we're on, moving on. The next item before us is related to Elizabeth House and the approval to select a corporation for demolition as demolition contractor. And Ms. Andrews, is there
Yes.
introduction you want to make?
Thank you for that, Madam Chair. Yes, this is a follow-up to the ongoing discussions we've had related to moving forward with demolition of Elizabeth House. As the commission is aware, we've received support from the county to help fund the demolition of the Elizabeth House apartments. We've also been in conversation with you, Commissioner Simon, and want to make sure that we preserve as much as we should from Elizabeth House before it is preserved in terms of artifacts. And so we will definitely do that due diligence, but we look forward to hopefully receiving your support as it pertains to moving forward this demolition and leveraging the resources that we're receiving from the county to do so. I'll turn it over to the real estate team to provide more details.
Good afternoon. For the record, Marcus Irvin, Director of Development. I'm here to present the approval to select the demolition contractor. I'm going to turn it over to Guido Cavalazzi, Senior Financial Analyst, to walk you through the process that occurred, rationale behind selecting the firms, a little bit of information on projects that they have previously completed, and then also the timeline in accordance with the selection in April. Broadly, if approved, would result in potentially a start sometime this summer, with the conclusion wrapping up towards the end of the year, similar to what occurred with the Ambassador Apartments. So, Guido, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Marcus. For the record, my name is Guido Cavalazzi. I'm a Senior Financial Analyst at the Real Estate Division. And as Marcus mentioned, this our recommendation for the demolition contractor for Elizabeth House. HOC issued an IFB in February soliciting bids for this contract, and we received 3 proposals. The cost of the proposals ranged from approximately 2.3 million to 2.9 million. The recommendation that we're making today, the Berg Corporation submitted the lowest proposal, approximately 2.3 million. The other two bidders were not only higher the cost, but also they did not submit all required documentation, and so were deemed non-responsive and disqualified for those. So for those two reasons, we're recommending the selection of the Berg Corporation. This firm is based in Baltimore. They have years and decades of experience in demolition, including high-rise demolition in the area, and they're highly qualified for this work. As I mentioned, the bid is 2.3 million. We recommend a 20% contingency because of the site specifics. We think that 20% contingency is appropriate, and so if approved, that would bring the total authorization to $2,758,591. Staff proposes to fund this demolition from three separate sources. $1.5 million will come from the county CIP funds, capital improvement funds. 1 million interest-free loan will be extended from DHCA, the county DHCA, and the remaining amount of up to $500,000 would be a loan from HOC's Opportunity Housing Reserve Fund. Because the first two sources are not yet in place, have not been fully approved, we request that the commission approve, authorize us to draw on the real estate line of credit to bridge the receipt of those funds. And so we're requesting up to $2.5 million draw from the real estate line of credit until the funds are received. And Marcus already outlined the timing of the process. We expect to complete the demolition by the end of the year.
Seems a lot of money to just tear something down.
I have a couple of questions. If demolition begins in May, which is a possibility evidently, is that going to cause a problem if the county's portion isn't funded until after that process begins?
So, county's portion, meaning the capital improvement fund?
Yes.
So that's the reason we're requesting the line of credit.
No, I understand that's why you're requesting the line of credit. My question is, if we begin some work before the county has approved it, is the county CIP going to be able to pay retroactively for work that began before it was approved?
The county CIP has been approved, and I think it was an amendment to the CIP. So I think technically those funds are available because the council needs to be set up. The $1 million.
And maybe DL Mark and Sugar one. Thank you.
For the record, Tim Getzinger, acting CFO, Chief Development Funds Officer. In terms of the funding and the timing, there is the chance that the relock doesn't need to be used at all, depending upon when the actual demolition starts. However, this is just to make sure that in case we do need to start and that funding is not in place yet, and the accounts aren't set up, we're able to go ahead. The $1.5 million in the county CIP, it has been approved. It was an amendment, so the funds are available. What really we're not sure about is that we need to go through DHCA to ascertain that, to get the $1 million 0% forgivable loan. And we don't know how long that's going to take.
So when was it approved? Last year's budget?
It was a CIP amendment. I think the council approved it.
Council has approved the amendment. Okay. 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 That answers my question.
Jeffrey, have you a question?
No, I was also curious about the CIP.
Okay. Is there a motion then to approve the staff recommendation?
So moved.
I'm sorry, did you say something, Jeff?
He moved it.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I ask a question related to the triangle piece of ground outside Elizabeth House? When I found some records or a plaque that dedicated the community center there in Elizabeth House and the park as Sylvia Dennis Community Center and Park. And there was at the time a bench put out there, and it was a little, I think they called it a pocket park. Was the title ever changed to that land? Was it formally done, or was it just the commission naming that area for the resident manager for a long, long time? And it seemed to me that at some point I'd heard the staff referring to it. I had not made the connection with Sylvia Dennis, but I was not working at the commission at the time that the plaque was made. And so I don't know the history of that piece of ground, but I think the residents certainly felt that was their park, their little pocket park. And was there ever anything done title-wise, or is that just the commission's designation?
For the record, Zachary Marks, Chief Real Estate Officer. We'll go back and just review just to make sure, but we've done quite a bit of work on title because we're trying to get it's technically right of way, controlled by MCDOT. And so we've been working for a number of years now to get that piece abandoned so that it can be subsumed into the redevelopment of or Elizabeth House. And so I don't recall seeing an actual title. I don't recall seeing that in the title. We'll review that again. So it may have just been a dedication. One of the first things we did was to determine that it was not, in fact, a parks park. And so that's the first step we went through, was determining that it is indeed it's right of way. Obviously, functionally, it functioned as a pocket park.
And it was just a accommodation to the residents because nobody else was using it, wanting it, needing it, or whatever.
That's right.
It just struck me as interesting, and I thought we ought to be sure if there was any possibility that had happened and somehow slipped through the cracks.
And we will double check.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Is there any other business to come before the committee? Hearing none, we're adjourned.
Thank you.